Mr. Peacock.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, my name is Bill Peacock. Thank you for having me here today. I am representing myself and the Texans for Fiscal Responsibility. What the legislature has done on property taxes over the last 5 years is simply not working. And it's not working because basically the legislature is dedicating more money to new spending than it is to property tax relief. Let me explain what I mean by that. If you look at the two charts at the top of my testimony, you'll see that property tax revenue has increased significantly over the last 5 years. This is the same trend that we've seen in the data over the last 25 years or so since the legislature's first major attempt at dealing with property taxes back in 1997. If you look at the quotes that I've put there, and I'm sure you've heard this as well from a lot of different people, the narrative from 2023 is that the Texas legislature passed an $18 billion property tax cut, which was the largest tax cut in Texas history. And but when you look at the numbers, it doesn't quite work out that way. What happened with $18 billion that was talked about, the actual results based on the comptroller's numbers are that property taxes revenue probably increased by $681 million this year instead of dropping anything at all. So there's really no tax cut, a general tax cut across the board. Why was that? Well, there are really three reasons for that. One reason is that the number was actually $12.7 billion. It wasn't $18 billion. That was what was put into new property tax relief. Everything else was brought in from the past, right? And y'all could have kept going back. You could have gone back all the way in 1997 and claimed that, but it was really $12.7 billion was the new property tax relief. The second reason is, as I talked about earlier, is there was a increase in appropriations from 2021 to 2023 of $65 billion. If you take that into account, or just $32 billion surplus, you put a lot more money into new spending than the legislature did into property tax relief, that $12.7 billion. And the third reason is that there really hasn't been anything that has been done to slow the growth of property tax increases at the local level, as Mr. Quintero was just talking about. If you look at the numbers here that I have in that bottom chart, last year, for this last tax year, special districts increased their property tax revenue by over 8%, counties by over 12%, cities by over 10%, and if you take out the effects of the $12.7 billion, school districts 8.25%. The legislature just can't keep up with those kind of local property tax increases. So we've put down some solutions here that would help y'all fight against basically what's going on at the local level. The first is free school M&O property taxes. The second is to eliminate all these loopholes that allow these districts to get past the current restrictions on revenue growth that are in place. The third is we suggest just to require voters to approve any increase in revenue at the local level. We all believe in local control. Let the voters have that control. And then finally, if we really want to do this and do it right and get it done in a reasonable amount of time, we've run numbers that show that you can, if you limit state spending growth to 2% annually and use 90% of the surplus, you can get rid of property tax, the school M&O property tax, in about 8 years, 8 to 10 years, just depending on which biennium you start in. So that's my testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Members, any questions?
Real quick. The last piece of testimony that, by the way, thank you.
Sure.
But the last piece of testimony you said, run that by me one more time. If you
limit state spending growth to 2% annually and use 90% of the surplus that results from that, then you can buy down school M&O property taxes to zero in about 8 years. The reason that works is because every year every year state revenue grows about 6% every single year. You don't have to do anything; it's just on autopilot. And that's an average, right? Sometimes it's a lot higher. Sometimes, as we know, it's a lot lower. But on average, over the last
were you here in 2011?
Yeah, so this
Okay.
is a 20-year average.
Okay.
20-year average. And so if it grows 6%, you limit spending growth to 2%, you got a 4% delta, and you can use that 4% every single year to buy it down. It's gone in 8 to 10 years. So,
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you. Any other questions, members? Thank you, Mr. Peacock.
Thank you.
Andrew?